Hi class. We're going to take a look at the person class that we were talking about in our Chapter 9 presentation. I've got NetBeans open. I'm going to create a new project. And I'm going to create a Java project. Now on this screen, today I want to create what I'm going to call a tester class. And this is going to be the program that's going to test the person class that we're going to create. And in this tester class, I'll just name it person class tester. I do want NetBeans to go ahead and create a main method for me, but I don't want that package statement because I know Hypergrade doesn't like it. So I know if I delete that package name and the period out, I can create a main class without a package. So I'm going to do it that way and click finish. Now as my project is created, my project and the class that is created within it are both going to be called main class tester. And my person class tester, and my person class tester is going to have a main method. Now I could come down here below our person class tester class and create our person class. I could put it within the same file, the same .java file, but it's not recommended. So instead I'm going to use the file, and I want to create a, what do we want here? Let me right click on our project. And there, that looks better. I want a new Java class. Sure, it's up there in the file menu somewhere. Now I would like this new class to be named person. And this is going to create a separate .java file in our project for our person class. We're going to leave our package blank so that it's in the same package. Now if we look in our projects window for this particular project, in our source packages, we have two Java files, our person.java and our person class tester.java. So here's our person class. This is the one that we were working on in our presentation. So I'm going to delete this out, and I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to use the /** enter method to generate comments in my code. And this will be person class. This class defines a person object. We'll put our date here. And in our class, we're going to start out with the data fields that our class requires. And we had a string for the person's name, and we had a string for their favorite color, and we had a string for their secret. Now, as I create these class fields, notice I've begun all of the class field names with lowercase letters. That's a standard. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a constructor. And my first constructor is going to say, okay, public out there, you can build a person object, and I don't need you to pass me any data. So what we're going to call this here, I'm going to delete out that comment that's no good, and I'm going to do the /** construct a person object. This is our default constructor, and it is a no arg constructor because it has no arguments being required within the parentheses. Now we can create another constructor, and this is an overload. So we're saying if somebody calls our person class and wants to create a person object and they pass a string, I'm going to call that P name, and they pass another string of P color and another string of P secret. Then I can use all these parameters that were passed to update this instance of our class. Favorite color. Notice that the IntelliSense is popping up with suggestions when I use the this keyword, because the this keyword is saying an instance, this instance of this class. I want this to be P color. I'm going to fix this one above. And lastly, I'm going to use my secret. Now I can name these parameters in this parameter list anything that I want. I named them P for parameter, and then enough information to identify what variable they were concerned about. Now that I've got this coded, I'll put in my standard Java doc documentation /*, and notice that it automatically generates comment information for all the different parameters. This constructor will build a fully implemented person. So we have two constructors here in our class. We've said you can build a person object with no data, or you can build a person object passing me 3 pieces of data, but we don't have any other options. Those are the only options that are available to our users. Now, in our class, we also wanted to create some getters and setters, or accessors and mutators. Notice as we do this, that over here in our navigate window, it's building a UML document sort of display for us, so it's going to be helpful there. Now I'm going to start out with our get person name. This is going to be a public method because it's going to allow people to access our person name. Our person name is a string, so that's what's going to be returned from here. And I'm going to name this method get person name, and where my variable field name was begun with a lowercase p, after the word get, my field name is going to start with an uppercase p, and that's a standard. So if somebody wants to get the person name, we're going to return that person name to them. Now I'm going to go ahead again and do my Java doc documentation /*, enter, and it puts in the information that this returns a value. This getter returns the person name. We'll go ahead and create one for our get fav color. Now, notice that my return statement, I'm returning the class variable that was declared up at the top of the class. This class variable is basically global, has a global scope throughout the class. It's available everywhere. So when somebody constructs an object, a person object here, we're updating those class level variables with the value that was supplied to us. And now when another method or another class says, I want to get that information, we're getting that information from those variables to supply to that other class. I'll put some documentation here. This getter returns the favorite color. One more. And of course all of ours are strings. That would not necessarily have to be so. We could have all sorts of different data types that we're maintaining in our class that we're allowing people to get and set. Now we've created getters or accessors for all of our different class level fields. Now we're going to create setters or mutators because we're going to mutate those values. If you remember from our discussion about our class, we're not going to allow the person name to be updated. We may have some issues with our class because of that, but we're not going to create a method to allow that. We are going to create a method to set the favorite color. And if somebody wants to set the favorite color, they need to pass us the value of what they want that color to be now as a parameter. And we'll set our favorite color class variable to that parameter. Okay, and then we also want to set the secret. Again, we're going to be asking for that new secret to be passed to us. And we will use it to update our information carried by our class. All right, so now our class is pretty well coded. We've got our class variables. We have two constructors. We have some getters for our class data and some setters. So we're in pretty good shape. We need one more thing, and that's going to be a method. And in this method, we're going to return a string, and we're going to call this method toString. And the toString is a standard method used to return information about an object. So we would like to return some information about our object. Let's say we're going to say the name is, and I'm going to tab over a little bit. Their color is, and their secret. I want to add some more there. And that'll give us a lot of information about our object, the person name, color, and their secret. Right now we're not being very concerned about their secret. This method will return a string value containing information about our person object. Okay, looks great. That's all we need for our class. Double check everything. Only red line I've got is it's upset about me not spelling something out, so I think I'm okay with that. I'll close out some of these other tabs so they're not confusing to you, because now we have tabs up here that we need to be concerned about for this project. We have our person.java tab, which we've been working on, and we've created our complete person class. And now we're going to work on our person class tester. Again, this is a completely separate class, and this class contains the main for our project. And we always start our project at the main method. So no different. Before we were coding most everything in our main. Now we're going to use our main to be kind of a tester, a control program, or a driver program to run our person class. We don't have to do much in our tester. First of all, we're going to declare our person as a new type of data that we would like to use. Now it's getting mad at us, saying, I don't know what that is, but we'll see if we can get this to all work out. So we're going to call this person that we're going to create my person, and it's going to be a new instance of our person class, and we'd like to not supply it any data. So now everything is happy in NetBeans. It knows that a person is something that exists to us because we've declared it as a class. So now we can use person basically as a data type because we've created an object that is defined by the word person. Now in our person, named my person, I'm going to go ahead and set their favorite color equal to orange. And let's create an output statement. And in our output statement, we just want to run that toString method we made in our person class. We should see it down here in our list. And there we go. So let's run this. First, we're going to create an instance of a person object. It's going to be empty because we're not using any arguments. We're going to set its favorite color to orange. Let's fix that. Orange. And then we're going to output the information about our person. Now, when we output our information, notice we're getting a null for our name and our secret. And that makes sense because we didn't supply any parameters to our constructor. And in our constructor, we didn't set any defaults. Now we can take care of that. In our default constructor, we can go ahead and execute our constructor that expects all the different parameters and supply some defaults. So I'll say, okay, I want to run this again, this person, and this is going to be my test name, and I want to supply a purple color and a big secret. And then that's going to go ahead and run. We'll be executing our constructor with no arguments from outside of our class, but then within our class, it'll say, oh, nope, I'm going to go ahead and run the constructor that expects all the arguments so that we can set up values for our class fields, and I'm going to supply those defaults. Let's try it. Okay, so now we see our test name, our color orange that we updated from the default of purple, and our secret that is a big secret. I'm going to go back to our tester, and we can create another instance of a person. We'll call it another person, and this is a new person also, and we'll make his name Joe, and his favorite color green, and his secret is let's see, his happy place. I don't know. Now this person we've created has all of the parameters, so let's just add another output line. Did too much there. And this time I want to output another person, toString, and now we should see the information about Joe. So let's run this. So here we see that when we are at the end of our main, when we're outputting our information, we have two completely different person instances. We have one that contains the name test name, this other data, and we have another that contains the name Joe and contains this data. So you can see that by creating a class and by utilizing the class structure, we're able to hold much more data in memory and access it very quickly because now it's held within our class structure. And we can work with it, like using our toString, very easily to output important information. Now we'll be working with classes and methods and objects throughout the rest of the semester, so it can be something that's a little bit different to get a handle on, but hopefully this will help just a little bit. So thank you.